Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to The Truth, where today we are going to go over. I know this seems similar to my weekly predictions. These aren't weekly predictions. These are actually my playoff possibilities. Just how like we did the possibilities going at the end of the season. We're gonna do that for the playoffs now. So we're gonna start off with the lowest divisions and go to the go higher. If we'll start with the NFC since it's on the left. For the Packers to make it all the way to the Super Bowl, they have to beat the Cowboys, and that's a big ask. But if they beat the Cowboys, then they'll end up playing, I think, the 49ers. So if we did this, yeah, they'll end up, no matter what, they'll end up playing the 49ers. So I'll pick who I think is going to win. These teams I think are going to win, by the way, right now, probably going to change for whenever I do my picks going in for tomorrow, just because I'll have injury lists and all of that. So these aren't my official ones, but these are the ones teams I'm thinking about right now. So the Packers will then have to play the 49ers, which is tough, even more tougher. They win that game. I think Detroit beats Philly. I don't think Philly's kind of beat up. I don't think they're that good. Then they're going to have to beat Detroit. And then I think Buffalo probably wins this game. I think Miami wins this game. And I think this comes like this. I think Miami. I like Cleveland. I think Miami wins it though at the end. Then they'll probably have to play a team like Miami. Or then Green Bay will probably have to play a team like Baltimore, Cleveland, Buffalo, or Miami. And that's tough. And then if they make it all the way, that's how the Packers. That's kind of the idea of the Packers going all the way. That's very, very tough. Now we can set this all back. This is really neat that I can just click on it and set it all back. Actually, I'll keep this to stay the same, so I don't have to keep reclicking it. Next team is the Rams. I think Dallas is going to win this game. I think Philly's going to win this game. The Rams, similar to the 49ers, similar to the Packers, have to beat the 49ers. Then they'll probably play like Dallas or Philly. Then they'll have to beat Dallas, or then they'll have to beat Dallas or Philly, and then they'll have to beat Baltimore. I think this is a little bit more likely. I think the higher we go up in the season, it's more likely that this team makes it. But it's still rough just because when you have to beat Detroit, then you have to beat Dallas, these both teams are probably going to be favored than you. Then you have to beat another team that's more favored than you. But this Detroit game could be close. This Dallas game could be close. It really comes down to this Baltimore game. That's the one I'm kind of like, I don't really think that's going to happen. But, this is the ideal path you'd have to take. You play teams similar to that. It's not, and this isn't exact. This is just what I'm thinking right now. For Philly to go all the way, Philly would have to be Tampa Bay, which is likely. That's possible. My teams, I think. Then they'd have to play the 49ers, which is tough. Then they'd probably, I think, get rematch. Detroit probably wins it. Then they'd have to play Detroit, and then they'd have to play Baltimore and beat Baltimore. That's tough. But Philly it depends on how healthy Philly is. Philly's a good team. They play bad, but they have a great roster. For Tampa to go all the way, you got to be Philly somehow. But now you won't have to. Actually, yeah, you still will have to play the 49ers. You got to beat the 49ers somehow. Then we'll see Dallas wins this matchup just to mix it. Because I have no idea who honestly wins this matchup if this were to happen. Then you have Dallas versus Tampa Bay. Actually, Dallas might actually choke this game if that were to happen. And that's no offense to Dallas fans. I just don't have faith in that team going all the way. Just because I'll get into my rant in a little bit, but that's that how you do it? If I'm being honestly, I don't think Tampa Bay beats Philadelphia. I know Philly's banged up, but Tampa Bay was only able to put 9 points against the worst team in the league. And like you can't do that. Going against the Lions, for the Lions to go all the way, you win. Great part is probably not gonna play Detroit. Probably gonna play Dallas. Revenge game. It's possible. Then you have to play the 49ers. This is a game where I think like Detroit's one of those teams where I think they could honestly beat the 49ers. They have a chance. I'm not saying they will, but they have a chance to beat them. I think Detroit could go in. Detroit versus Baltimore. That's a rough one. I think honestly Baltimore wins that one, but let's say Detroit wins. The games I could go in between. I think Detroit has a more likely chance of beating the Rams. I think the Cowboys versus Detroit is like a 50-50 game. I think 49ers versus Detroit is probably like a 40-35 to 60-65 game. I think Baltimore, if they're healthy, that's like a 30 to 70% chance you're going to win that game just because Baltimore's so good this season. It's insane how good they are. Going to Dallas for the second seed. The good news is if you're Dallas, you won't have to play the 49ers to the conference championship, which the 49ers are Dallas' kryptonite. I think Detroit wins the game. I think this happens. The hard part is I think you have a really good chance. You probably have an 80% chance of beating Green Bay. I say 20% chance because we don't know if what Dallas team is showing up. Is it playoff Dallas or is it Dallas when they're hot? Well, if it's Dallas when they're hot, they're good. But if it's playoff Dallas, they're probably going to lose this game because Dallas, for some reason, does terrible in the playoffs to an extent. 49ers versus Philadelphia. I think 49ers won that one. Really don't think the 49ers get upset until like the conference championship. Dallas versus Detroit. This is a tough game. I think it's 50-50. I think Dallas has a better matchup against the 49ers than Detroit has, just because Dallas has so many weapons. Like, it's ridiculous how many weapons Dallas has. And they're still not able to do what. Never mind, I'm not getting into that rant. I'm not going to get into Dallas rant. It's just, Dallas. You have the pieces every year, you just can't push it through. I think it's a culture thing, if I'm being all honest. But I'm not getting into that. I'm trying not to get into that rant. 49ers versus Dallas. That's a tough game. 49ers have had the numbers. But let's say Dallas won. Then you got to play a team like Baltimore. I like it, but it's tough. And then here's what I think probably happens. Like I said, 50-50, not really sure. Or Dallas, because Dallas probably makes his conference loses, if I'm being all honest. And then if we're going to do it for the AFC, the Steelers to win, you have to be Buffalo. And then picking two teams I think are probably going to win. If you're the Steelers, you beat Buffalo. I think you have I'm going to say this. I know it sounds crazy, but I think Pittsburgh has a better chance of beating Baltimore than they do Buffalo. Hear me out. They play Buffalo. It's going to be a rough game. Let's say some other one. This is a divisional game, and we've seen year after year, game after game, divisional games are random. We don't know how they're going to act. We don't know how they're going to end up. They're crazy. If Pittsburgh ends up playing, Pittsburgh can only play Baltimore. I think Pittsburgh and Cleveland face up better against Baltimore than Buffalo, Kansas City, Miami, and Houston do, just because they're divisional matchups. Pittsburgh would have to beat Baltimore. These are two tough games, by the way. Miami versus Cleveland. Miami's too explosive. Then you'd have to be like Miami or Cleveland. That's tough. And then you'd have to be like San Fran, which is even tougher. But you're in the playoffs for a reason. Going to the 6th seed, I think Buffalo wins this game, by the way. Going to the 6th seed, you have to be KC. I think that's a very valuable option. I think it's really possible that Kansas City loses. It's just Kansas City does not have that oomph. That they're not meticulous in the little details, which balls up into big problems for them. I feel like that's the real issues. They're not meticulous in practice. Houston versus Cleveland. Give me Cleveland. I think Cleveland wins. It's just first-year quarterback. It's hard for me to see. I'm not saying it's not possible. It's just hard for me that this Houston team's going to win multiple. At least going to win one and then multiple. It's going to be tough. Baltimore versus Miami. Rematch game. It's possible, but it's rough. Buffalo versus Cleveland. It's like Buffalo. I'm really mixed between that. Then you get has Buffalo and Miami played? I don't remember. But then you have to play the 49ers. I like this matchup. And when fully healthy, I like this matchup. I think this would be a very fun game to watch. Just so you know, whoever makes the Super Bowl, I think both have a very viable option of winning. It just depends on how healthy they are. And then going to the Cleveland route, Cleveland has to beat Buffalo, which is possible. Baltimore wins. And then you probably have to beat Baltimore, which I still think is possible. But then you have to beat the Rams, which is the 49ers, which is tough. That's a very tough matchup to win. Just because of that defense. I think that's the defense that's going to give Joe Flacco big trouble. Lots of trouble if they go all the way. But I mean, it's possible. Like, there are a lot of these teams who I think they could make it. It's just how healthy are they going to be and will they make it? Now we have Houston. Houston has to beat Cleveland, which is possible. I don't think they make it out of the second round, though. But if they want to make it that deep, they'll either have to play Miami or Baltimore. I think most likely Baltimore. They have to beat Buffalo, which is tough. And then they have to beat Baltimore or Miami in this case. And then they have to beat San Fran, which is also very tough. The only thing this is likely, think Cleveland or Miami have a better chance at that. Now we're going to get into Kansas City. You got to play clean in the playoffs. So let's say they do. They beat Miami. They play Buffalo. Kansas City matches up well against Buffalo. They have for multiple years now. Then you got to play Baltimore. I think ideally, if you're KC, you want Cleveland because I think you match up better against Cleveland. I know the defensive line is rough, but you have Patrick Mahomes to extend plays. Play Baltimore. Baltimore is a really good secondary. I mean, crazy good secondary. That's a tough game, but if you beat Baltimore, I think there's a realistic chance KC and the Super Bowl rematch beat San Fran. Like I talked about earlier in the NFC, I really don't think that goes all the way. Maybe you could prove me wrong, but I don't think so. Next, we have Buffalo. Look, Buffalo's matchup actually probably going to be Miami. I just haven't seen enough. I think Buffalo matches up not too bad against Cleveland. It's a more experienced playoff team. They're in Buffalo. And I think that defensive line's going to kind of stuff that run up a little bit. The hard part is you play Baltimore in the conference if you're Buffalo. If you're Buffalo, you want Miami to win because that means you're either playing Houston or Cleveland. That's a very favorable matchup for Buffalo. If you're Baltimore, you have to beat Baltimore, which is tough. Not impossible, unlikely, but tough. Then you have to beat San Fran, which is still tough. But I mean, that's ideally Buffalo's pathing to the Super Bowl. I'm actually not going to change this because I do think these are the teams who are probably going to do it. Taking Buffalo out the way, taking Baltimore out the way. So, basically, if you're Baltimore, you have the first round bye, so you don't have to worry about that. You play either Miami or Pittsburgh, or Cleveland. Ideally, I think you want Miami in this matchup. I think you want Miami, or if you don't get Miami, you want Pittsburgh. I think the last team you want is Cleveland. You could get Houston, but that's unlikely for all those games to happen like that. I think I'll say this: if you're Baltimore, you either want Houston in this pattern, Houston, Miami, Pittsburgh, then Cleveland. Pittsburgh knows how to give Lamar fits and stuffing and committing all to the run and then making them throw. They've given Baltimore fits for so long now. But ideally, that's the team you want. I think Cleveland's the last team you want to face. If you're Baltimore, I think you pair nice against Miami. I think you can control the game with the running game. Buffalo, Cleveland. I like Buffalo in that matchup. Then again, that Buffalo defense is tough. I think they're secondary better than Cleveland. Baltimore, you think you can beat Buffalo, and then you beat San Fran, which is likely. I think right now Baltimore's my Super Bowl favorite to win it all. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with this. Let me know if you disagree with this. Let me know if you didn't like this video, or if you did. What are things you think I could spice it up a little bit, make it more interesting, talk about more matchups? Let me know. But thank you all for watching. I know this was a different video, but thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to y'all tomorrow with my actual predictions.